Okay, Ida. We promised we would go more in depth on some of the relationships of your life and the traumas you've been hard at work to heal. So let's just continue where we left off. You cool with that?
Yeah.
All right. So we left you having 2 massive decades of your life where some very chaotic things were happening, a lot of trauma. But I really think your story is a story of overcoming more than anything else. So what was happening behind the scenes while you're starting to work on commission, you're earning some more money, you've come out of that little debt slump thing that you're going through? What was going on in relationships? Like, were you dating? How was that going? Were we repeating any patterns from our previous 2 decades?
So I'm going to probably just fast forward to like a relationship that was probably like a long one that was bad. Like I ended up getting into a relationship with someone that was probably, I would say, had a drinking problem and drug problem. At the time of initially meeting the person, I obviously didn't know, but it became evident that they were like having benders, and it was very interesting to get into a relationship with someone, but that's what I knew is familiar. So that relationship went for like, I think just over 6 years. And it was very unhealthy relationship that I found myself quite trapped in. A lot of people would see from the outside that I had everything together with work and I'm strong and I'm independent. How did I fall into that? But you know, I tended to fall into relationships that were similar to the house that I lived in.
Sure.
I didn't know at the time that's what was happening, but in reflection, I ended up being in that relationship, which was very violent communication. I didn't know myself. I basically, you know, my work was my savior. Going to work was my savior, but it was a lot of control. There was a lot of manipulation and narcissism, and I ended up hating myself.
Whoa.
Like at the beginning of that relationship, I was so confident in who I am as a person. That people would tell me things about the person, and because I was so confident in myself, I didn't care. Like I was like, oh, well, whatever. Like, you know, they're flirting with someone or they're doing this. And I'd be like, oh, well, that's just feel sorry for them because like I'm in a relationship with that person. I'm not intimidated. But this stuff happening to you over 6 years and the manipulation, and I was made to feel smaller and smaller and smaller to the point where I actually totally disliked myself.
Wow.
The only way I got out of that relationship was because I had nothing else left, in the sense of I just didn't have anything, you know, like I was completely destroyed as a person. So I also had a lot of family things going on with my brother, and I had too many people needing something. Like my mum was going through a lot to do with my brother was going through a lot, and I just felt the little bit of energy I had, I had to help my mum.
Wow.
And so he was always trying to get back together. And there was this one particular moment where he asked to meet up with me so we could talk about things. I was like, okay, whatever. Met up at a coffee shop, and he was just like, so I figured out what the problem is, and it's you.
Oh.
You don't know how to communicate. You don't know how to, you know, da-da-da-da. And I was like, literally had an out-of-body experience. And if anyone's been in trauma or bad, or where they go, one day it just, like I you know, snap.
Yeah.
Or one day it just clicked. I had that experience where I was at the coffee shop. He was saying things to me, and it was like I had an out-of-body experience where I was watching this as a third party.
Whoa.
And I was like, what the hell are you doing?
Like you saw it
Like,
for what it was right
this
then.
is nuts. This is not your life. This will not be your life. Do not choose this life. And I don't know if we want to call it the guardian angels again, but literally I was speaking to myself saying, this is not how your life is going to be.
Wow.
And I just said, okay, that's your opinion. We will never be together again.
Yeah.
And then he food had just come out, smashed the plates. And, you know, I had such an empowering moment, and I'm laughing, but it's actually something to cry about, where it was in public. So it had gone to like public shaming me, like embarrassment. But I sat there after he left and ate my whole meal.
Oh.
Because I was like, I'm not going to let this person make me feel small anymore. And he's the idiot that people are going to look at because I have enough courage to sit here after someone abuses me and eat my meal in public.
Oh, I love that.
And, you know, that night.
That is very powerful.
Very powerful moment. And I never, ever, ever went back again. Nothing he could ever say would ever change that. That night, he actually even went on a date with someone that posted it on Facebook, this sort of shit, right? So that person is nothing to do with me in my life. I would never give them any energy. I've forgiven them for all their shit, but that doesn't mean you need that person in your life. So that was one relationship, and I had this cycle of just being in bad relationships. And each time I learned something. It's not like I just never learned from it, but you know, I ended up in a different form of that.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because when people hear, when it's not their experience, that it almost seems illogical. You're like, why would she want something like her dad's experience? Because all you wanted is your dad to leave when you were young. And yet you draw it in because you said it's familiar. Yeah. And so you were growing each time, but there was still that pullback of what was familiar.
I think when you're in violence growing up and you're in that environment, it's like that actually is safe. It's so weird. And if people have done the work, they will understand. So when you're in environments where people show you love, it doesn't feel normal. Yeah. So I had different experiences of that. Like I would have, you know, his experience was not choosing me and like picking me and picking alcohol or benders or whatever. And I was always like second to that. From that, it became being with someone that was like the other way, like not letting me have space, trying to track every move that, you know, so it was always this dynamic of different things of control and abuse.
Yeah, but they can look,
Yeah,
different.
And I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm like perfect in any relationship, because when you're in these relationships and you're traumatized, both like you're being triggered as well. So I was not, you know, the best. I wasn't my best self in those relationships, but I definitely didn't go to the points and make people feel like the way that they made me feel. So I was in these relationships, and then I would, you know, and then I made a decision that I just am not going to go in a relationship. So I was single for 5 years.
Yeah, okay.
But that was, I guess, avoidant. I went from being really anxious in relationships to completely avoidant of a relationship, because then I wouldn't have to deal with, I was like, would say to people, oh no, I'm just allergic to drama.
Yeah,
you know?
got it.
And really I am avoidant.
Yeah, AKA. But yet all the while you're sort of on this healing journey. You're doing work on yourself.
Yeah.
Is this, can you share some of the work that you were doing on yourself with your relationship with your mom? Because you keep mentioning her like she's sort of this figure, like this important person in your life. When did things start to transition with her in terms of how you felt about your mom?
I was always like helping my mom, felt responsible for my mom. My biggest goal in building my business was to help my mom and my family. And then I was doing work around my father, not my mom. So like everything I was doing, like psychology, counseling, any healing I was doing was around my relationship with my father. Because in the psychology world, whatever it is, most of the time when you talk about how your upbringing is, that's what's made you, right? But there is only now talk about healing the feminine, you know, the masculine, feminine. And I hate to throw around all these words, but the feminine being your mother relationship and masculine being your father relationship. What I have learnt through all of this work, so I've always sought help. I've never stayed in the feeling, but I found that I healed all my relationship with my father. He wrote a letter to me and my sister and my brother explaining his story and asking for forgiveness.
Yeah, wow.
So I already had forgiven my father, because I'm like, I'm not allowing you to dictate my life. You know what I mean?
Can I just quickly ask, what allowed him to get to that point where he could write that letter and that you could receive it?
So I think the final straw, like my dad tried to give up alcohol a lot. And then he went to like a meditation solitude places for 2 weeks. That was probably part of it, where he tried again. And then my sister had her first daughter and we were like, we don't want this in their lives. So we've said you can't see them if you drink alcohol ever again. So that was the thing. And then my dad had wrote the letter through whatever work he was doing.
Wow.
And it was pretty like sad what had happened to my father.
Got it.
So it made sense. And like I do understand a lot of people that might be listening that have turned to drugs, have turned to alcohol for escapism.
Yes.
And it is very hard. I mean, I know my life has been really hard, but at the end of the day, like you can find other ways to escape because then you're not staying in the state. Because alcohol, drugs create a momentarily escape, but then at what point do you have to come back to reality? You know what I mean?
And on that, because you didn't choose some of the escapes that other people choose, so how is it that you felt the feelings? Because you're doing it a little bit differently than other people that live your life do it. How have you managed to get through it?
I think because of like my father's drinking went on well into my adulthood. So like I think it's a bit different witnessing it as an adult. As a child, it's one thing. It's scary. It's fear. As an adult, it's like, why? And like you can see things differently and, I don't want to be like that.
Sure.
So for me, I just like kind of made a promise to myself that I wouldn't drink if I was having a bad day. I would only drink if I'm happy. I would only take, other substances when I was young if I was happy.
Okay.
And the way I would deal with it is I would seek help. Like I was seeing counseling, psychologists, meditation. I learned how to meditate when I was 18. I had spiritual people. I found savior in my friends. Like my friends became my family, and like I would talk about my problems.
Yeah, got it.
I wasn't silent in my suffering.
Yeah, got it.
So yeah, like all of that time, I'm healing my relationship with my father. I'm still having issues with men. So like, I'm like, how much more do you want me to talk about my father? Like I've been there, done that,
Yeah.
got
I've
the
letter.
t-shirt.
I've got the letter from Dad. Come on.
It's done.
Yeah.
Why am I still not healed? And then, I've continued my healing journey and, realized that it's actually my relationship with my mum. Yeah.
Da-doom-doom.
Yeah. And so I started that journey of healing my relationship with my mum, and there was only through weird things that I did that it came out. Like I went to a retreat and, like Eden retreat, Gwingana, but retreats where you would do a different type of massage or something, and like they would be like, "Oh, what's going on with that?" And the person's quite intuitive and he's like, "What's going on in your life right now?" And I'm like, "Well, my mum's not talking to me at the moment." And they're like, "That's strange. What do you mean your mum's not?" And it's like actually through telling people that people telling me things are not normal that I would realize, shit, that's actually bad. That I would just think everything's like
I want
normal.
to just talk to that for a second, because I've noticed just from my own background, when people are talking about trauma, they talk about it so plainly. Like you just mentioned, that only in other people reflecting back do you realize that possibly this is a big deal.
Yeah.
Because most people that are traumatized talk about it like a laundry list.
Yeah.
So again, that's another great thing you're sharing with people. Like if you're sharing massive things and people are reacting, possibly that's trauma.
Yeah.
So, okay, keep going.
Yeah. So then I realized that like a lot of the way that my mum is traumatized, that she reacts to us and creates trauma is a continuous ongoing thing that, that led me down the path of like different types of ceremonies. I did like a mushroom ceremony. I always felt like there was things that were deep inside me that I hadn't healed, but I couldn't heal through talking.
Got it.
And so I was drawn to hallucinogenics. Is that what you call it?
Is that what it's called? I'm not an expert.
Hallucinogenics.
It's a big word.
Yeah, it's a big word. I don't speak English. Hallucinogenics, like mushrooms, ayahuasca, to go deep.
Was that hard for you to use, do ayahuasca, for example, when you had such a, like a past with substances because of your dad?
I didn't see them as that kind of substance.
Got
I
it.
see
You
them
saw
as
different.
a natural substance.
Great.
That, ayahuasca is a plant.
Mm-hmm.
Mushroom is a mushroom.
Yeah, got it.
So it's not something that has been manipulated chemically.
Got it.
So I wanted to do ayahuasca when I was like 20 because a friend of
okay.
mine went to Peru, did it, and his life was like he healed his relationship with his mom. But I was so scared of anything hallucinating.
Got it.
Because, when you're traumatized and been in situations like that, you have a fear of not being in control. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I was always scared when I, like with drugs or anything, to push myself to out of control.
Got it.
Never got myself that drunk that I, or once I did and never again, that I can't remember.
Yeah, got
because being in control is safe.
Got it.
So I didn't do it then. And then, going fast forward, I over the last sort of few years, I've only just gone down that path. And through my first ceremony in mushrooms, I'm not going to go deep in that, but I realized I had a fear of masculine energy, which meant there was something to do with the feminine that needed to be healed. Then I went to ayahuasca and I'm just going to share to people that up until like this year, January, I had never told my mum I loved her. So, and I thought that was normal.
Yeah, there we are.
And so when I did the ayahuasca, what happened in my experience is how it healed my relationships was that it took me and put me into the body of the person I needed to heal the relationship with and put me into their lifeline.
Whoa.
And made me experience and feel what they felt so that it was real in me, that there is no way I could not understand and heal that person. So for example, my mother, it took me into my mum from a child, into specific huge things that happened to her. I was like crying, like, stop, I've got it. I'm finished with this. And it just kept giving me more and more and more till it was like, no, I'm going to show you. Like, I'm going to show you how hard your mum's had it. And like, I finished that experience in my mum's body and I was like, there is no way I can ever be mean to my mum.
I wanna cry.
How can I have not said I love you? All my mum, and then it told me what my mum wants. Like through that, it showed me like all my mum wants is to be loved.
Oh my goodness.
I know. And my mum never has had me. And then I recently found out from sharing this experience to my sister, because I had to, because my sister and my mum are similar to, different things. I had to tell my sister what happened and what I experienced and all of my mum's stuff so that I could tell my sister, you need to also love mum. And now you have children that sometimes my mum feels she can't see. And then now double mum feels unloved.
Like wants to.
All she wants is for us to love her and for her to be accepted.
When you were in your mom's body, what did it feel like when you saw you? Like you're your mom and you have a daughter. What did she feel having a daughter?
Just never being loved. Like, I can't explain it. It's that energy, the feeling of being like just wanting something so bad but never receiving it. That's what my mum feels. And from my father, from her parents, my dad, like us, no one, no family, her own mother, like. Yeah, it was really hard. I had the same experience in my sister's body. I had the same experience in my sister's children's body.
Wow.
Yeah, and then I had an experience in my brother's body.
Wow.
Yeah, and they were the relationships that I had to see.
So when you tell me about the moment when you tell your mother that you love her, when you know that that's what she wants.
So then, my mum always rings me, and then at the end she goes, I love you. And my partner would hear it on speaker, in the car, and I would never say it. And he's like, your mum just said I love you. And I'm like, yep. And he'd be like, why didn't you say that back? And I'd be like, because I can't. I'd be like, I can't. And he's like, why? It's your mum. And I was like, I can't love someone that couldn't help me. Like the stuff that I've been through, the things that, I get why she did it. I get all of that, but she's not my mum. I would say that,
Wow.
and it's funny because my mum would actually say that to me through my upbringing. When she'd get really angry at me, she'd say, I'm not your mother. So, it was a big thing. And then one day after I did the ayahuasca, and I really wanted to tell her.
Yeah, but it's a massive thing to do.
But I never told her. I never told her I went and did this thing and then it healed our relationship. I just started saying it.
Oh.
Yeah, I just started writing
Did she
it
react?
back. I could feel she's really happy, but she doesn't say anything.
She was playing it cool?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's really powerful. I mean, there's so many dynamics in what you've just shared around your mom. All she wanted was to be loved, and yet she said some full-on things like, you're not my daughter, or I'm not your mother. And I think your sharing is such a journey of how trauma begets trauma, all the people, your dad's letter, look what he's traumatized, and now he's inflicting, and even these relationships that you were in, intimate relationships, you think to yourself, what the heck happened to them that has them controlling me like that? It's not to feel sorry for people, but I think that my question for you is around when you let go like that and actually told your mom you loved her, and you actually got in touch with that feminine compassion, empathy that you had in your business. Because all the, we sort of left that aside for a second because you're thinking, you were describing, I've got this terrible relationship going on, but everybody thinks my life is great at work. But how has getting in touch with these parts of yourself and healing impacted who you are as a businesswoman?
It's so hard because I'm in it was very male-dominated finance and property industry when I started. It's now changing. I had to be strong and survive. So that is quite masculine in itself, but that's what you have to do. I don't look masculine, but I had to be very masculine. And through this, I started to have, I guess, try to become more of my feminine being. I don't need to try so hard. Yeah. I can't explain it, but it's this energy of I have to be it. I have to do everything, that's the energy that you carry. And, if no one's going to do it, I have to do it. No one's going to take care of me. And kind of a little bit of masculine being I don't know, this strong, not letting people in.
Yeah, got it. Like an
and
armor.
Yeah, like an armor. That's the word. The armor that's there, but you don't know it's there. I never knew any of this till I have slowly, and I can't say I'm out. I'm fully in my feminine yet. But as you're slowly you're like, shit, am I like that? You don't need to be like that. You can still be a girl. You can still be yourself, but it's a lifetime of being in another way just to survive. But what I realized is people were a lot more open and would tell me a lot of things. My relationships with staff members and that sort of developed in a different way. How I was communicating with all my clients changed because I could just be a bit softer. Yeah. And then it was just even better. I started to talk like I'm sharing now, be more vulnerable, which I would never do. I would never do. And I just found that what I also found that's the positive. On the negative, it's been really hard for me to fully move into my feminine because people keep pushing me back to my masculine.
Yes, because
and because
they're,
they don't like it.
that's right. Because they're in their own journey.
Yeah.
Which is
I'm triggering.
Yeah.
I'm triggering.
It is triggering.
Yeah.
And it's, well, thank you for that share just then, because what businesswoman cannot relate to what you're sharing? And most are maybe not sharing it yet.
Yeah.
And I think, relating to the trying hard, it's only when you're not trying hard do you see other people's try hard and you get it for yourself. It's very difficult when you're in it because it feels like the only way to be successful. And it's like you're redefining like success.
Yeah.
And I think that is uncomfortable for another person who may be on a different path, And so, but again, I really truly believe that just like people have been in your life, you are that for others now. You are a source. Like even this conversation, I mean, you're a real source of what's possible. And it's not just possible for you, but possible for someone else, So good on you for feeling the feelings and just, continuing to walk and share. Because I get that there's other messages in you that are like, lock it down, lock it down, lock it down. And in light of that, you work tirelessly. You work hard. You could retire on a beach in Bali. Why don't you? Yeah. Why are you even doing this podcast? Why are you helping Gen Ys? Like, why?
Yeah, I think about that Bali retirement frequently.
She wants to go now. Okay. Okay.
No, like I don't feel like I'm there, like I've achieved my mission or whatever my soul's plan is. That's the reason I'm here, and that's why I keep going.
Okay.
So like it's not, the destination is not money. Mm-hmm. The destination is difference, making a difference.
Got it.
And like every time I go through something, and I'm constantly still going through things, I think, man, I really need to help people through this, because not everyone has the ability financially, emotionally, physically. They might not be in a physical place to get help, but through sharing my stories and what I've been through and how I got out of it, or what you can do, I can help change someone's life. And like, so everything I do from the time I was like 28 and had, my moment of I've achieved success, and now what, I'm 30 and, should I go to Bali and just, but that was the moment where I was like, no, like all this stuff, all this shit that has happened to me has only happened and is continually happening so I can help others. And as sad, when I tell my story, and I remember a friend of mine like crying one day, like my best friend, like, why do you have to go through all of this stuff? Why? You're such a good person. And it's like, well, the only reason could possibly be that I'm going to be the person that helps others. Like, so that is like, it's such a driving force to the point of my own detriment. Like we talked about COVID before, but in COVID, like, it was a very tough time in business, not financially, but emotionally, because I was talking and helping a lot of people through a big crisis. Yeah, right. So I was working way too many hours, never seeing anyone, never, and never getting paid more, but just helping people. And even on the back of that, I was still pushing out videos. I was screwed tired, but I was like, people need help. So like to my own detriment sometimes, I'm doing things for others and not taking care of myself. Got it. But that's because like I sometimes feel like, shit, I haven't done anything. I haven't helped anyone, like enough. So I've always wanted the podcast, but it takes so much time and effort, as you know, and people don't see that. But now I feel like, my business is moving to a point where I can have a bit more time to spend on these things.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
And when you called it Grow Your Mind, why that name? Like, what is it that you really, what's the message behind that name even for the podcast?
I had so many names.
Yeah.
And then, everything's bloody taken. But, it was always wanting to be about grow. So like I had like, I thought of Room to Grow You, all these different ones. But really I thought Grow Money Mindset. It's like, like my business is called Grow, and like what do I stand for as a what is Grow? And to me, like growing your mindset and and money is like the core of everything. So like if you feel financially okay, that's like a ripple effect into the rest of your life. So for people, money is what they classify as that pinnacle, but to me, money's energy. So really, it's like growing you energetically and growing your mindset energetically. So it's like about that, but it's only because people relate that energy and abundance to money.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like a scorecard for your energetic, where you are in terms of your energy. When you think of abundance, for example, you can think of that. People have different ways. They don't often use that word with money. But I've noticed even with some of your episodes, like planting the vision, like you're using grow words, which I think is really interesting. So when you think about, and you just said this takes a lot of energy, to actually do a podcast. You sort of see that this is where you're at in your life. You have a mission to make a difference. What do you want it to achieve? Like when you think of the different themes that you're kind of like putting out there with the money mindset idea behind it, what do you want it to achieve?
Basically, I just want to help as many people possible. So through the podcast, I'm going to be sharing things that I already know about money, financial, health, wellness, everything that I already know that is something that is a part of you leading your best life. Okay. So it's a part of like, I feel like it's that wheel, relationships, money, success, and career. And then you've got your health and wellness. It's like all of the wheel, right? The wheel of life. But I know so much because I've invested so much in all of those areas. People know me around money and property and creating wealth through property. I will bring in different elements of all of those things because if you have your relationship with yourself right, your relationship with your money is better. So there's things that people don't understand that are all related to that, and I want to bring that in. I also want to share that it's also about my own things that I'll learn because we're all growing and learning. So it was about bringing that in. And again, people that I think have been an impact or are an expert in that field, I want to bring that person in when I'm seeking some support. So the idea of it is that it doesn't matter where you are on your journey, there's going to be something for you.
Got it.
Yeah.
I just want to share that I think it takes a lot of kudos to share yourself in the way that you did. And I really see, because you've shared those stories, that there have been key people in your life that have made a massive difference. And now through this podcast and other things that you're doing, but through this podcast, you're being that for other people. And so just know that, that person that guided you when even the debt started to happen and all these like little moments that now you are on track. So I really appreciate you sharing yourself. I know there's people out there listening who feel less alone because they know that they're not the only one. Like somebody else is going through stuff, and you really do give people hope. And I'll say it one more time because I'm all about possibility, but your story shows what's possible. You are self-made, and these wisdoms that you share are going to reach far and wide. So I wish you so much success, Ayda. Well done.
Thank you. And I just want to say, the whole point of me sharing my stories and things is so that wherever anyone is, like you said, it doesn't matter where you are right now, you have the power to change it. Like you really do. No matter how bad it is, there will be always someone that can help you. There will always be help if you ask, and you can get out of it and you can create your own life. You do not need to be a victim. You do not want to go down that victim mentality of like, these are the cards I've been dealt, because no matter what, you can get out and change your own life.
No truer words have been spoken.
Thank you.
Yes, and that's a wrap.
Thank you.